moment of glory again.
Hi, today we're going to find out what it's like to shoot at a competitive level. We have a guest and her coach along with us here today. And my name is Rory Canterbury. I'm your host today on Archery Talk 101. And we have Mandy and her coach. Mandy, go ahead and introduce yourself and introduce your coach.
I'm Mandy Boggs, and this is my coach, John Fort.
Well, welcome to the show. It's going to be interesting. So Mandy, why did you start archery? What was the reason you picked it up?
So I got really fortunate, I guess. My home range opened up like 5 minutes from my house. I first shot a bow, I guess, at 6th grade PE class. Got a bullseye with a recurve and thought it was the coolest thing ever. Didn't pick up a bow until, probably 15 years ago, maybe. No, probably about 17, 18 years ago. I had a compound for a little while. Always wanted to do 3D tournaments. The cards just weren't there at the moment. And then when Canterbury range opened about 8 years ago, I got my first recurve. John set it up from the very get-go and started coaching me from there. Then 2-3 years ago, I think, he just was like, how far do you want to go with this? Like,
Well, that was the first question right off the bat, was how far do you want to take it?
I didn't have an answer. I was like, I don't know. I just want to learn to shoot the bow. But I knew I wanted to do competition. I knew I wanted to do 3D tournaments. I really didn't even know what was out there. He threw me into an ASA qualifier, I believe.
State qualifier, yeah.
State qualifier.
Yeah.
And it
second or third weekend of her actually shooting.
Yeah.
That was quick.
Yeah, it was bad. It was really bad. We only made it through 17 targets, and then we had a thunderstorm come through and they pulled us off. And I think I only scored 20 points that whole tournament. But I knew I wanted to do better. I knew I wanted to at least, hit the target, I guess. Yeah. And then, so a few years ago, you asked me the question again, and said, where do you want to go? And I said, I'm going to think about it. I don't know. I had gone to several tournaments by then. I was doing much better. I started doing indoor stuff. And so I came back, I think a week later, and said, I just want to see where it goes. I don't want to turn down an opportunity. So I guess I've been kind of lucky then that doors have opened since then.
Well, when you go knocking on the doors, they're going to open, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that was actually about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And her third or fourth archery tournament was the IBO Traditional World Championships.
Yeah.
Which I told her, just go throw arrows. We'll find them, or we'll buy new ones.
Yeah.
Just go ahead, just go for the experience.
Yeah.
Because I believe if you are going to do competition, jump in, learn how the tournaments run. Don't worry about hitting targets or scoring, but learn how the tournaments work while you suck. Because if you wait until you are good and then you go to these tournaments, you're going to be sadly disappointed in yourself.
And then, you have to learn how to shoot during a tournament and how to score during a tournament and all that. So I am very grateful he threw me into it. At the time, I wasn't. I think I said a few choice words to you, but I was thrilled now that I did jump in head first and learn that at the same time as I'm learning to shoot the bow.
Well, that's what coaches are for, to push you. If you're nervous and afraid, you're in the right spot. The coach is doing his job.
Yeah, it worked.
So John, how did you get started in archery? Obviously, you've been in a little bit longer than Mandy, but
yeah. I actually started in the 60s, and while I was in single digits. My neighbors were bow hunters, and I soon learned about Fred Bear and His Royal Highness my book reports in school were about Fred Bear and Ben Pearson and all the old archery legends. And I shot recurves and forever. I mean, since then, I think I spent maybe 8 years away from archery while I was building a working career in my early 20s. And then I picked it back up one day once I got established, myself established and a family established and all that. And then, man, I've been shooting the IBO tournaments since the 92 or so. So yeah, my neighbors got me started in on it, but it was just a natural thing. I just took right into it. So I've been shooting for a long time.
Yeah, I started my archery career in the 60s as well with a 25-pound fiberglass Ben Pearson bow.
Mine was a York.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mine
when we
was a
had the
York.
option of wood or fiberglass for the bows and wood for the arrows.
Yeah, wood or wood. Yep. Yeah.
Just which kind of wood do you want?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was buying wood arrows at Kmart in a box, bare wood arrows. Yeah. So yeah, it's been I look back, I still got some of that stuff. I run a very very exceptional collection of bows and it's like crack, I guess, because I can't. I'm going to we're going up to Compton this weekend and I'm bringing some money to buy more bows. I don't know why.
Yeah, because we can, right?
Yeah.
I asked him one time, how many bows does one person need? Because I thought the last one I bought was that going to be it. Now I have 10. It's like, I guess people need more than one.
Well, you need one more than what you have now.
Pretty much.
Exactly. He who dies with the most is the winner.
That's right. We can say that about tools or anything else.
Yeah, that's true.
Mandy has a very interesting family story about bows. Want to share that?
Oh yeah. Yeah, let's hear that.
Yeah, so my great uncle, my mom's uncle, used to make bows back in the 60s and 70s here in town, Noblesville, Indiana, out of his garage. He had 3 sons and they all helped him. But it wasn't something we knew about growing up. And so since I started shooting, and then when my grandfather passed, we had like the family dinner or whatever afterwards, and we're talking to my mom's uncle and his kids, and it was like, now wait a minute, like there's bows. And so John, actually, I think you had some family member get a hold of one at an auction or something.
Yeah, it was part of my collection, and it was I think it was the first year that I was actually coaching her.
Yeah,
that she was starting to take it serious,
right.
And she was telling me she just found out that she'd had her uncle was making Beck bows.
Yeah,
out of Noblesville, Indiana, and I, out of 100 bows, or it just hit me. I said, well, I've got a Beck bow. That's what I was thinking.
yeah.
So the next Saturday when she came for her lesson, I just give her the bow.
Yeah. So it was Beck Custom Bows, BECK. There's not that many left. I've actually been able to get a hold of 3 of them. They're going to actually go on my wall. And I've gotten in touch with, since then, my great uncle has passed. But I talked to 2 of his sons that said that apparently they made 2 longbows throughout the process. Both of those longbows are actually right here in Noblesville. One of the sons owns them. And I would love to have my hands on them, but I don't think I'm going to get them. But there's just a handful of the bows running around. I actually talked to one of them right before I left for Italy. The day I left to go shoot for the World 3D Championship in Italy, ran into the one in Walmart, and he was giving me the spiel of everything he knew. And my great aunt actually used to shoot back then And my twin sister and I were actually born on her birthday. She thought it was the coolest thing ever that we were born on her birthday. She unfortunately passed when we were really little. And but she used to shoot, and she actually was the state champion for freestyle, I believe is what he told me, back then. And she was on the local news station shooting balloons for some sort of a promotional deal back then. So there was the family history that we didn't even know about. No one talked about, nothing. And it just kind of happened.
It was in your DNA and didn't know it.
Apparently. Yeah. So, and my sister actually shoots a little bit. She shoots a compound every now and then, not so much for competition, but just with her kids and stuff like that. But yeah. So yeah, apparently it was there somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like it. That's kind of interesting when you
Yeah.
don't know about it, and all of a sudden it pops up and here's this history of archery and
Yeah.
and unique items, and being able to get one back
Yeah. Yeah.
is really cool.
Yeah.
You know, that's
It
family.
is. Yeah. Yeah. It definitely means a lot. In that first year that I was kind of taking it serious, I actually shot that bow because I couldn't help it. I had to at that point.
Right.
And it did have a tiny little crack in it. So I put it up. I was like, I don't want to touch it anymore. I want it on the wall. But yeah, it was really cool to get to shoot it and, you know, have that experience and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely worth more on the wall than it is to shoot at this point.
Yeah.
When
Oh
it has a
yeah.
crack in it.
Yep.
I retired my first bow. I still have it, but you know,
Yeah.
fiberglass, it's got some bad spots in it, so I won't string it. You know,
Oh yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just there.
Wall hanger. Yep.
Yeah. Just let it hang around and just be there. And yeah, you always gotta have something like that. And I still got a couple of my arrows that I made back when I
Oh
was in
wow.
scouts. You
Oh
know,
my
they
gosh.
had the little archery merit badge. I've got the old jig summer I bought from one of the local stores, like $1.65 was that I paid for my first jig. Because you got to
Wow.
remember,
Wow.
this is in the 60s and 70s.
Right.
So in the 60s, they didn't cost that much. You know, now to buy a Bitzenberger, I don't know what they're about $120 a piece for them.
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why you go to Compton, Cloverdale, you can find them for 50, 60 bucks,
Find a deal.
40 bucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know when I had my store, they were about $45 at my wholesale cost. And that was
Okay.
about 20 years ago, you know, and they were
Yeah.
selling for, you know, $50 or so. And, you know, so when I had my store, I ended up buying 8 of them.
Oh
So
wow.
I've got 8 Bitzenbergers with the straight clamp, the right helical clamp, and the 2 different style receivers. So I can do helical, I can do straight, I can do, you know, cock feather down, I can do cock feather out. And then
Nice.
with the Bitzenberger, of course, you know, you could do 6 fletch if you wanted.
Yeah. Yep. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we run. We run a traditional archery club also. And in the winter, when we don't have a chance to shoot, we give classes on string making and fletching. And I've got probably a dozen
Yeah.
different style of fletching clamps and receivers to teach
Yeah.
people how to fletch arrows
Yeah.
and do Flemish twist strings.
Yeah.
You know, so
What's the name
we
of your
have
club?
Hoosier Traditional Archers.
Okay.
Got about 885 on Facebook right now, and
Oh, cool.
growing every day. It's
Yeah.
that was just you know, we were sitting around during one winter. We're just shop rats, and there's about a half a dozen of us that doesn't really have a life, so we go hang out at the archery shop.
Yeah.
And it's snowing and cold outside, and we're just sitting around, you know, talking because we don't have any life. And we decided that I was set.
You decided.
Yeah, I decided that you know, we didn't have that many archery tournaments at that moment. We had the big ones, you know, the Cloverdales, the Comptons,
Yeah.
and I told Mandy, I said, you know, let's make a traditional archery club. Let's just start it.
Yeah.
So we set a clipboard out and
just start getting names.
collected names on it. And every time somebody walked in the shop with a recurve or a longbow, we were right there to promote the club and had them
Right.
sign their name and email address on the clipboard. And it slowly grew. We
Right.
started having monthly meetings, and it's not really a monthly meeting. It's show up and let's go shoot 3D range.
Right.
So
and then we started a Hoosier Traditional Archer State Championship. So the first weekend in July, we do a state championship, 40 targets, come shoot, leave, or camp all weekend, whatever. We do a fun range that we also do like a best of the best shoot off for. This year, we're actually doing belt buckles for the prize for that, or for the main range.
Yeah, for the state championship.
And then he had the bright idea of doing an Indiana traditional Triple Crown. Yeah, so we got with other clubs, traditional clubs, and we do a 3D traditional Triple Crown for Indiana. And I believe you just got a phone call last week about possibly starting up an indoor traditional Triple Crown and do 3D indoor as well in the winter.
Yeah.
So we're in talks on that now as well.
Yeah. So if you don't have tournaments to go to, then you make some.
Right.
You make your own fun. So with our Triple Crown, our outdoor 3D Triple Crown, we actually have 4 shoots. So not everybody can make a Triple Crown sometimes. So you have the option to drop your worst score, or just make 3 shoots. It really opened up the door, adding the 4th shoot to a lot more people shooting it and completing a Triple Crown.
Yep.
So I've been contacted to, they wanted to start a indoor. Something indoors with the trad people.
Yeah.
So I said, well, we can start a Triple Crown and then worry about leagues later in the year if you want to start doing leagues. And I've been hit up by 2 other archers shops here with indoor ranges in Indiana. So we'll probably end up starting an indoor Triple Crown and doing leagues at 2 or 3 different indoor ranges.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. We have Stephen in the group is made a couple of comments. It's a nice conversation, but he says nice 3D rocks.
We think so.
Yeah, it's just so interesting, and not all of our listeners may know how you work the Triple Crown. If I can talk here, can you explain how that works?
So for us, we require you at least shoot 3 of them. So we offer 4. You can just come shoot 1 at your local club and support that local club. But if you want in for the Triple Crown prize, you have to shoot 3. If you shoot all 4, then your lowest score drops and only your top 3 scores count. So we've actually already had 3 of them. We have the 4th one the last weekend in October, or in July. And and then that will be it. And
we also give belt buckle for that also.
Yep. So
yeah. And then you take the total score for all 3 of them, and then that's what you use to rank everybody.
Yep.
And we have 10 adult classes, longbow, recurves, male, females, and we have 2. We have a youth and a Pee-wee,
teen, and youth.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So 3 kids classes. So 13 classes total that we offer.
That's pretty good to get them involved in shooting, and much more fun to go out and shoot the real bow than it is to go on the Wii or whatever game, and then try just kind of, I don't know how those things work, but
it's not near as fun.
You
play a video game and you aim and then you shoot. It's like, no, that's not teaching you anything. Get a real bow in your hand. Whether it's a recurve or longbow or compound bow or crossbow. Just get one of them in your hand and
something.
Shoot.
Yeah. Well, and then I also help with you help some too. S3DA kids team at Canterbury. We've got about 22 kids, I think, this year. We've jumped quite a bit this year. We only had about 8 or so last year. And So yeah, I do a lot of the administrative stuff and letting kids know when to be there, when we're having practice, when we're going to shoots. And Tony Gert, the owner of Katewi Range, actually runs the team. And then yeah, John comes and helps at practices. My daughter, she's on the team, she's 16, she jumps in and helps. She knows all the setup and everything. She knows how to do all that. I rely on other people to do my stuff. But yeah, I say I'm learning, but I'm really not. I just rather hand it over.
She's like a race car driver. I drive the car.
Yeah.
Just let me sit down.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
shoot the bow, everybody else just fix it.
Well, and
But,
everybody has their own thing that they do best, and
yeah.
you know, do what you do best, and let everybody else that does it better do it.
Right. That's what I think. Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty busy, I guess. I think we're constantly at something every weekend, or hosting something, or setting targets for something. You know, I mean, that's what this weekend we're going to try to go to Compton for a day and then get back to work on our range for our state shoot, and start, you know, prepping it for the targets. So
Yeah, keep
Yeah.
you busy, that's for sure.
oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, you know, I tell people I have 3 jobs. I work here at the archery range. I run the pro staff team for Three Rivers Archery,
Yeah.
and then I work a regular job. So yeah, things are busy.
You got to make money somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's always the hard part, and
Yeah.
yeah, you got to have income coming in, and not all of us can be professional archers that make a living just shooting
Right.
tournaments. And yeah, because there's only so many that can make that kind of money, and
Yeah.
the rest just do it for fun.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's it. It's yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
do you charge anything for your classes that you teach?
No, it's all free. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do it. We make no money off the Triple Crown or the state championship.
It all goes back to the host club.
Right. It goes back to the host clubs. When we started this, I just wanted to promote the traditional archery. I wanted
Yeah.
people to get more involved with traditional archery, and I wanted more of the recurve and longbow shooters to have more options besides going shooting with just a bunch of compound shooters. We're notoriously faster shooters, and
Yeah.
we walk through the 3D range quicker.
Right.
And a lot of the guys, they don't want to wait on, and you're shooting a complex machine when you shoot a compound, and it's like shooting a high-powered rifle. And I understand these guys that take their time, and it's great, and I respect what they do. But still, we're notorious for a 3-second shot. We walk up, our foot hits the stake, 3 seconds, and we're walking away. So, and our lines move faster. So I wanted to give the people in Indiana more of a chance to be around all traditional archers, and it's been pretty good so far.
Yeah.
We've had pretty good turnouts, and I'd like to see the local club members support their club a little more, but it's going to come. It'll happen. So
Yeah. Well, when I've got a recurve in my hand, my mind changes. It's a different weapon. As a compound, it's a different weapon. If I shoot a crossbow, it's different. I shoot a handgun or rifle, they're all different. And my mindset changes. And with the compound, I'm drawing back, I'm getting my anchor point, the kisser button, the beep, and all that stuff. I'm going through that. But the recurve, no. And by the time I've drawn back, I'm hitting my target, and I'm not holding. I'm just going. So you shoot way quicker, and
oh yeah,
it's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, with the compounds, it's there's so much machinery there that you expect perfection out of yourself with it.
Right.
And with a recurve, you already know you're minus that absolute accuracy that you have with a compound bow. So recurves are just a lot more fun, and that's the most common comment I hear when I'm turning compound shooters onto the traditional archery,
Right.
that they all say the same thing. They'll look at the bow and then they'll look up at you and they'll say, man, this is just fun.
Yeah.
And that's really
Yeah.
what I want them to get out of it, is to make archery just fun for them. Because you get so wrapped up in the sights and the peep and the release and all the and the form, and standing back at
Right.
50 yards shooting the 11 rings, that they actually forget that it's just fun.
Yeah.
Just to have fun with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I always went out just to have fun. I didn't really care as much about my score. And I know you was talking about, Mandy, you going out for the first one. And it's like, don't
Right.
worry about losing arrows. We'll find them or buy more.
Right.
And the first time I went to a 3D shoot with my compound, because I didn't really shoot recurve that much then. So I'm going there and I've got like 6 or 8 arrows with me. I forget what was in my quiver.
Yeah.
And I'm shooting. It's like, I'm not even halfway done yet. And I'm about half my arrows are gone.
Oh yeah.
Because, you shoot them over in tall grass.
Yep.
Don't bother looking for them, because you're not going to find them in grass that's knee high. You'll
Right.
never find it. The only way you'd find it is the metal detector and try and find aluminum arrows. And
Yeah.
that's when we're shooting aluminum arrows. And then I finally got to go through and shoot one. And then my goal was, okay, I want to score an average of 8.
Yeah.
I mean, an average of 8,
Yep.
because that means
Oh,
it's
yeah.
a kill shot on every deer.
Yep.
And then go from there.
Yeah. That's what my first, because I think it was before the ASA. I had went to an R100. I hit 100 targets with a traditional bow, first time out. And I had all these beautiful, arrows, blue and white feathers. Lost every arrow, every single one of them. I had to go into the shop that it was at and buy a whole set of junk arrows. And the arrows were flying like this all the way to the target. And the guy behind me goes, those are kind of flying weird. And I'm like, yeah, I'm aware. And yeah.
At least
so
I
then
have one that's flying.
Yeah. So then I learned, you want cheap arrows to start with and work your way up. And yeah, at that point it was strictly just hit the target. That was my goal, was hit the target. And then, now it's hit the 8. And, now it's kind of like getting towards, okay, I really want to hit some 10s and just concentrate on 10s. And, so it is, you shift as you move through the process, I guess. So, and then it kind of, I started out doing just instinctive, and that's how John shoots, is strictly instinctive. And I thought that's all I wanted, just shoot instinctive. I didn't care about, I wanted the simplicity of it. And things shifted, this, that, and the other. And now I'm trying to gap and trying to get my arrows closer together to gap and using the tip of the arrow. And a whole nother ball game, I guess, that you even had to kind of learn how to teach me how to do it, because it's not something you ever really did.
yeah. I mean, I knew about gap shooting, I knew about stream walking, and I'd watched, I'd listened, and I'd studied it, but it's in 2000 is really when it started to turn from instinctive archery and the IBO and ASA. People started turning more into the gap shooting and string walking. And my buddy took right off with it, with the gap shooting. And so I started trying to gap shoot, and I spent that summer in 2000 really focusing on, tip of the arrow and getting my equipment set up. And, I had longer arrows, 3-4 inches sticking out in front of the bow. And that summer I really worked at trying to gap, and I really wasn't getting it. I was beginning to get target panic. October rolled around. I'm deer hunting now. I thought, I'm just going to shoot instinctively. And I missed 2 does in my backyard. I got a really long backyard. And old Bo, he wants in on it. I missed 2 does in my backyard. And the second one I missed, I climbed down out of the tree. I had deer around me. I just climbed down out of the tree. I went to the house. I packed up all my hunting gear. I packed up all my archery, and it was October, 1st October. I didn't touch a bow till May or till March. and I started from scratch, and I went
Yeah.
back to shooting instinctive archery.
Yeah.
It's just something I just wasn't able to get a handle on.
Yeah.
But it turned out good for me. I mean, instinctive archery is,
Yeah.
I've won my share of stuff.
Yeah.
So,
And that's all I thought I wanted. And then I kind of hit another level where I kind of needed something to boost it a little further.
making the team,
Yeah.
everybody on the USA team has a shooting method.
Yeah.
And I had tried and tried
It didn't go very well.
and tried before to teach Mandy gap shooting.
Yeah, it didn't go very well.
I think I tried every way in the book.
Yeah.
And we were actually at the IFAA indoor state championship, and she had one round of 5 arrows left. And she turned around and looked at me. She was all excited. She says, "I think I understand how to gap shoot now." I want to go run out in front of a
It was
bus.
bad. Like I just wasn't getting the concept, and it was And then all of a sudden the light bulb clicked, and I'm like, "Oh, this is how it works." And
Last 5 arrows, the highest round she shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to go run out in front of a bus.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe it.
And then it's just been a process on trying to figure out what method's going to work best for me and where to anchor and getting the right arrows tuned. And we were at the single string clinic back in April over at Fawn's place, and I got a lot of information that we took back and was able to put all the dots together, I guess. So yeah, that's working really well now for me.
Yeah, I went so I could get firsthand information
Yeah.
and not information that has been relayed from Mandy. So
Yeah. The year before didn't go very well. I learned a lot. I thought I wrote everything down and then took it back and apparently didn't get it translated very well. So yeah, but I think it's figured out now. It's been working for me pretty good. So
yeah, she's got a solid method now.
yeah.
I really expect her to take us pretty far.
Yeah.
She's got 4 second places at the IBO Trad Worlds.
Yeah.
I think this year is going to be her year. Mandy just won the Traditional Archery Society's World Championship a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I think this year she's going to take the IBO Trad
Yeah.
World too.
Yeah. So, and then I plan on trying out for the USA team again next year, 2024, and see where that goes. We'll see. So, yeah.
So how was it like here? What was it like when you went over to Italy to shoot?
So first, when I went to trials, I was hesitant to go. I signed up and I really thought I was going to back out. I wasn't allowed to. Everyone forced me to kind of go. I mean, and everybody's been great. I mean, from the coaching standpoint, from the shop owner, from my daughter, everybody pushed me to go and do my best. When I went out there for the trial, the trials were in London, Kentucky. You shoot 2 days. On day 1, I was 3rd, I think, and they take the top 3. And I thought, that's fine. Tomorrow, I'm not going to shoot as well, whatever. I'm going to be runner up. I just felt like that's where I was going to end up. And I ended up moving up to where I was the 2nd choice or whatever. And I'm pretty sure I thought I was going to like throw up when I got off of there. I was just like, what did I just do? Like, I just shot this and I actually made the team. Like, now what?
Yeah. Now what? Yeah.
Yeah. Things moved really, really quick. At that point, though, by the time I actually got to Italy, all I wanted to do was take it all in. I didn't want to, I wanted to do well. I wanted to do the best I could. But at that point, I feel like I didn't have anything else to prove. I proved I could do it. I proved I made the team. I just didn't want to finish last, and wanted to shoot my best. I made it through qualifications and made it to the elimination rounds. So that was a huge, icing on the cake kind of thing. And then I made it through the first round of eliminations to the 2nd round. So that was even more, it was another level. And then I got out on that round, finished 15th for the world in traditional archery. And there was no reason I couldn't have gone one more round. You know, the big saying, don't count the score, don't look at it.
Right.
I counted when it came down. I was ahead out of the 6 targets we shot. I was ahead the whole time. And at that last target, I sat there and added the scores up real quick. And all I needed was an 8. And I flung a 5. And I never should have looked at it. Number 1 rule, don't look and don't count. And
The big mistake was she had 30 seconds to shoot an arrow. It takes her shot routine is 5 seconds.
yeah,
So then she had 30 seconds to shoot the arrow.
yeah.
So she saw the referee throw the white flag up, meaning you
Yeah.
had 30 seconds,
Yeah.
and she rushed her shot
Yeah.
and shot
Yeah.
straight up above
Yeah.
the 8 ring.
Yeah.
And
It was all mental. It was all mental. I got my own head, and but I was still pleased with 15th. I was thrilled, you know, and I was just trying to take it all in, because it was one of those where you get there, you know how a 3D tournament works.
Right.
At that point, but you just don't know. There's language barriers. One of the gals on my target on the first day, she didn't speak any English, and she actually shot the wrong target the first target the first day. And so trying to hey, wait, you know, and trying to get that across. You know, but everybody was really nice. It was a really cool atmosphere, and to see all the other countries. And we had some weather we had to deal with, and the terrain was really tough. There were some targets where, you know, you're on a hill and your feet are sitting like this on a hill. And you're trying to shoot straight across at something. So, but you would expect that at a world championship.
Yeah, you're not going to get a flat,
No,
flat
no.
ground to shoot flat.
Right.
Nothing's going to be
And-
flat. It's going to be up or down or sideways or something.
Right. And we had some issues where the riser I had originally got to take over there ended up not really following the guidelines, or we thought. And then, you know, this, that, and the other. About, I think it was 2 weeks before or something, we found out, or something, we found out that it could go, but I'd already switched or whatever. But I ended up taking what was it?
Yeah, it was one of my collector bears. As a 1971 Sea Riser wood, which met all the specs for the class.
Right.
So yeah, they made less than 300 of them in 71, and that's what she took over, was a Bear Sea Riser.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she shot a custom Kodiak.
Yeah.
Her third, fourth, fifth
Something
year.
like that. Yeah.
Well, until we signed with Three Rivers, she'd been shooting custom Kodiak and was in love with the bows.
Yeah.
So when she got the chance to shoot the Sea Riser, she dropped everything
Yeah.
else.
It was familiar. It felt good in my hand. It was easy to set up. We got it set up pretty easy.
Yeah.
So yeah, it, you know, the judges were kind of like, well, we haven't seen one of these in a while, because they have to do their inspections and all that. And,
Oh, yeah.
you know, it worked for me. You know, I'm not saying that stuff like that works for everybody, but you know, on my budget and everything else, I couldn't go buy another riser. I had already bought the one that wasn't going to work, and that was a used one. So yeah, you know, you just adapt and improvise, and you know, we found one that would work and followed the guidelines, and I shot it pretty well. So but yeah, I really just tried to take it all in when I was over there. My daughter was able to go with me. She got to talk to, and she actually has gotten really motivated. I think she might try out next year too.
Oh, that'd be
we'll see.
cool.
Yeah, that would be.
Very cool. Both of
So-
you made the team.
Yeah. So we'll see. We haven't learned where it's going to be at yet, so we're not real sure on all that yet. But hopefully we'll find out soon, and you know, we'll see what happens, and go from there.
Yeah. Yeah, that was quite an experience to go through and get over
Yeah.
there. And I know I've talked to a couple that was over on the team, and
Yeah.
some of them compound, some of them traditional, and yeah, it's, you know, it's a pretty good deal to be able to go over there and
Yeah.
shoot, you know, at the world's level.
Right. Yeah. It was a wonderful experience for sure.
Yeah, that would have been exciting to watch. I've seen some videos where they've recorded some of, you know, the little bitty clips of them
Yeah.
shooting, and that was kind of interesting, you know, to see all that. And you know, your coach throwing you into tournaments when you're first starting out. Yeah, you get used to it, so it's like no big deal. The tournament
Right.
environment's no big deal, and then now you get up there, and as long as you stay out of your own head.
Yeah. Yep. Well, and it's one of those too where I didn't used to, well, in front of a crowd, like a shoot off or whatever, like that's terrifying to me. Like I'm like, I don't want any part of it. I don't want to do it. Now I just kind of walk right up there. I'm like, I know what I'm doing. I know how it works, and it's just like second nature. And it actually too, during that first round of eliminations, it was pouring down rain, and it was thundering and lightning and everything over there in Italy. And we still had to finish that round. They didn't pull us off of the course. And it was only 5 or 6 targets, but still it was pouring down rain. And we have actually shot several times, one was like a hurricane. By the time I got here, it was obviously less than a hurricane, but it was still a downpour, and shot in it. So I think that helped me that we've actually shot in the rain. I had water get down in my contact, and it was floating around.
Oh,
And I had to shoot an upside down skunk during that shoot off of that first round of eliminations. And I think it helped that I had shot in the rain before, and I was somewhat of an instinctive shooter. I nailed a 10 on it, and I couldn't even see out of my right eye. So I think that helped that I was able to adapt in that moment. So yeah. Because the other gal, you could tell it was a struggle for her to shoot in the rain. So yeah.
yeah,
I was
we've
shot
never.
Katrina.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you've never shot in adverse conditions like that, it can be nerve-wracking.
It's a struggle. Absolutely. Yeah. Yep.
And that's why you got to practice all this stuff. And when you're out deer hunting, you're sitting down. If you're shot, you're both sitting down.
Yeah.
And most people don't
Absolutely.
practice that way.
Yeah.
Have you practice how you tree stand and stuff like that?
Yeah. This year was the first year I hunted out of a tree stand. It was only 10 foot, something like that. And sitting down, and I shot at 2 deer and went over both shots. So that's obviously now something I need to work on before I go out, is sitting and shooting downhill. So
it's not as far as you think it is.
Right. Yep.
And that's where I tell people, when you're in there, carpenters know about a 3-4-5 triangle. That's a right angle. And when you're up there, if you're up 40 feet and the trail's 30 feet away, and then the other angle is 50 feet.
Yeah.
So what do you shoot it for? 30, 40, 50. What do you shoot it for? You shoot it for 30. It looks like it's 50, but no, it's only 30.
It's only 30.
You got to judge the distance to, straight across. And,
right.
Our farm is with the arm down. Our farm is with straight out and then bent at the hips. So figure it straight out. Where's that trail?
Not one of my strong points.
Yeah, but unless you're a coach, you bend your arm down when you're doing it.
Yeah. We're working on it. It's not one of my strong suits.
I could just tell, but as soon as he looked at you, it's like, okay, that's what you drop your arm.
Yep.
I was at an indoor 3D tournament, and it was on a platform. They had a platform there. So
nice.
You was up about 5 feet, or there's like 4 or 5 steps up there. So you're up about 5 feet, and they had a gator about 5 feet away from the height you're at. So you're up 5 feet, the gator's up 5 feet.
Wow.
And fortunately, on my bow time, I had it all calculated out.
Oh, wow.
I needed to use my 70-yard pin.
Yeah.
So I draw back, and I'm leaning. I'm depending on this rail to hold me. If it broke, I'd have been on the ground. I'm bending. Finally, the 70 pin's there, and I finished my shot, nailed it.
Oh, nice.
And then I had to have almost help to get back up because I'd been over so far. But, people don't think about that when you're shooting close,
right?
In the 5 feet range or less. So it's real close targets. Normally your arrow is knocked at your mouth. Your arrow is there. Where's your sights? They're up about 3 or 4 inches.
Yeah.
And now that's your sight. Your eye is your sight is. That's where they're at. But the arrow's not there. That's why a lot of people will shoot through their blind when they're turkey hunting, because they see the pin, but they don't realize the arrow is actually going to go through the blind and not to the window or opening,
right?
Because it's off. And I've seen
Right.
tournaments that put targets out at 5 feet on purpose
Yeah.
because most people don't hit it. And you'll get some say, well, I just sight down the arrow. You ever
Yeah.
shot that way? No. Uh,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We had to teach our kids on the team that because the S3DA every now and then they'll throw a real short target like that. And yeah, so the kids, they look at you like you're crazy and you're just like, nope, you got to use your other pin.
Yeah, last year, our state championship, I set a gator out about 5 foot away from the stake.
Yeah.
It was downhill, and I set the gator out 5 foot away from the stake. And we went to collect the gator. The front of it was chewed up, and the backside of the dirt was all chewed up from people shooting over and shooting under.
Yep.
yeah, it makes you think when you're getting them close shots and,
Right. Yep.
and you have to worry about, if you're bow fishing, what's your normal range for bow
Oh,
fishing?
yeah. I'd like to do that
It's
sometime.
5 feet or so because you get further out and now your arrow can start skipping
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you can't penetrate down. So you got to have pretty much a straight down shot. So how do you judge those yardages?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
they're really close and they
Yeah.
don't look like it. I know I shot a deer one time. It was a 20-yard shot all day long. I knew the trail was 20 yards away. This deer comes walking in, and the size of it, if I use my pins as kind of a rangefinder, it
Yeah.
should have been like a 40 or 50-yard shot. I
Yeah.
knew better. I shot it for 20 and I got it.
Nice.
Because I knew it was a
Nice.
20-yard shot. I didn't
Right.
go by what the visual cues were. Because if you're on the flat, in a way my pins are set up on my compound is if I get all my pins on the kill zone, yeah, I better be using, close range starts. Then as it gets further out now, then the pins don't bracket, the belly to the spine, and then I can kind of range find that. But when it comes time, I don't do that. I range the different yardages out, because I kind of know where it's at and
Oh,
how to
right.
shoot it when I get there. And like, okay, I've even put flags out, like
Oh,
into
yeah.
a field. I had a
Right.
10-foot long rope and I'd take it out. Okay, there's 10 feet,
Yeah.
and then, or 10 yards, and then a 30-foot rope. And then here's another 30 feet, another 10 yards, another 10 yards. And so, okay, that's my 10, 20, and
Oh,
30-yard ranges. Now I
Right.
know if it walks the field where it's at,
Yeah.
until you
That's a
learn how
good
to
idea.
judge
Yeah.
yardage.
Yeah. I'm horrible at that. I
Yes.
just kind of close middle far for me.
Yeah. Well, and
That's one.
I've done some of that too on setting up your pins. There's a way of doing it. I don't do it, but there's a way of doing it where you take your kill zone, what you want for your kill zone, you take your plate up there, and then you go to the close range and you sign your pin up so it hits at the top, and then you keep walking back until it finally gets to the bottom, and then you take your next pin and set it so now it's hitting at the
Oh,
top of the next pin. And so now you need close, medium, or far, which
right.
pin to use. You don't have to worry about it. You're within your kill zones.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Me being, being an electrical engineer by trade is like, I know how to do that. There's no way I'm gonna say, I need to know that this is pin 20
Right.
yards. This
Right.
one's 30. And I know
Yep.
in between is 25, and whatever it is, I need to know exactly what it is. It's just,
Yeah.
my mind.
Right.
Until I
That's
get
the way
really
it
covered with
works.
my hand, and then I don't look for pins at all. I'm like you, John. I instinctive shooting. I don't look
Yeah.
for pins. I don't look for the tip of the arrow.
Just
I
hope you
don't
hit the
do the
target.
string walking. I even heard about that until here a few months ago, the string walking.
Yeah.
And then I actually had a few people on that actually did it and explained
Okay.
what's going on. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, well, that makes sense.
Right.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they have someone where it's like, you got a millimeter up for this range. And this, it's like putting sights on your string.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like, okay, here's the spot. Okay, I move it to here, move it here, move it here, and that's the different ranges. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
too much
That's
work for me to shoot a recurve that way.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I did it for indoor this year only because I was trying it out and playing with it. And indoor, you're just at the 20 yards. So I didn't have to keep moving up and down. I had one set spot that I would go to. Not my favorite method by any means, but I do understand it, I guess, now. But
That led to a better gapping method for her.
Yeah.
Picking up the
Yeah.
gap method.
yeah,
Being familiar with the tip of the arrow.
yeah.
Really, I'm glad she went.
Yeah.
I encouraged her to do string walking,
Yeah.
and that really led to the gapping method she's using
Right.
today.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It helped quite a bit.
yeah.
Yeah, and I've seen some where, the anchor up really high and then start dropping it down, so their anchor point changes.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
basically string walking. It's just anchored on your face. The only problem with
Spank-
that is anchoring up on the cheek, you move down, well, the cheekbone moves in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the problem I see with that is you're on the cheekbone, it's here, you move off the cheekbone and it moves closer to your face. And now
Yeah.
you're moving left and right, and I
Yeah,
just
that's
never,
face walking. It's not near as accurate as the string walking.
yeah, if I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do the string walking just so I can,
Yeah.
have I like that consistent anchor, index finger,
Right.
corner of the mouth. With my compound, the kisser buttons corner of my mouth. So I know if it's there, it's anchored.
Right.
And then I got my peep sight. And
Yeah.
then it doesn't matter which my hand, because I have different type releases. I have either
Right.
a wrist strap that I hang on or a handheld release. And it's
Yeah.
just a matter of where my knuckle is, which knuckle's in that spot, because it
Right.
turns, because nothing else changes.
Yeah, because that's
A lot
all
of people say
consistent.
you can't you can't switch between releases. Yeah, you can. If everything else stays the same, it doesn't matter where your hand
Right.
is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody once said, even with traditional, it doesn't matter. What was it? Something about how your form is. You could have the worst form ever, but if you can be consistent,
If you do everything wrong
yeah,
and do it the same way every time,
you're
you're
still,
going to end up hitting the target.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
I
a lot of
think it was-
shortcuts there.
I think it was the last podcast the guy was talking about somebody with just kind of a joke, just really making a weird position, and he's actually doing good. He actually shot better that way, so he just kind of a
Yeah,
joke
just went with
side to it.
it.
And try different stuff if it works for you.
Right,
Like
right.
I've been a coach since '95. I mostly coach compound, but
Yeah.
Here is what I do. This is what works great for me, and this is why I do it.
Right.
I'm going to teach you that and then modify it to fit you, because
Yeah.
if I taught you a compound, or John, either one of you, if
Yeah.
I'm working with you, your body's not the same as mine.
Right.
And so we
Absolutely.
have to modify it. The same thing I did when in martial arts,
Yeah.
we're teaching the same technique, but sometimes you have to explain it different, or
Right.
maybe you have to modify it because of, physical strength or physical limitation. And, like when I shoot in my compounds, my hand don't go flying back, because it just doesn't, it just doesn't do that. And the funny
Yeah.
ones I see is when they shoot, no, it's supposed to go back, and then they shoot, arrows the target, and then the hand goes flying back.
Yeah.
They're like,
Cheyenne,
okay,
my
that
daughter
ain't
used to do
anything
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think I've
probably the
actually,
same.
I don't think I've actually taught anybody to shoot a bow the same way. I've got you
Yeah.
got different arm lengths,
Yeah.
and I had one old boy. I kept telling him, I said, you need to get into your back more. When he did, he'd pull that bowstring out back to his jaw, and he had a 28-inch draw, and he was basically overexpanded to get the 28-inch draw. It just had short arms, so
Yeah,
he ended up shooting with a rounded back to
Yeah.
get the draw. So there's a lot of adaptation, and I tell everybody, I said, you got to make this your own. Here's a
Yeah.
standard way to do it, and then you got to do what's comfortable to you.
Yeah.
Where in a lot of countries, they have this way you shoot a bow. If you want to be on a national team, you shoot the bow. There is no other way to shoot it. You shoot it our way, or you go on.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
here in America, everybody's individuals, so we all
Yeah.
have our own way to do it.
yeah. I know one guy that worked for me when I had the archery shop. He was taller than I by about 3 or 4 inches, and he had like a 28-inch draw length. And I have a 29.5, although I shoot 29. I had a longer draw length than him, and he's like 3 or 4 inches taller than him. He's
Yeah.
like 6 foot, and I'm only 5'9". And, and like little bitty short arms.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Not really, really short, but I mean, it wasn't, deformed short, but I mean, it was, I've always had long arms, I needed
Yeah.
35 sleeves in order, otherwise I go clear up my wrist, you know.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
I have a
Yeah.
29.5-inch draw with a recurve. So it's like I said, that one old boy, we ended up just getting him a good solid anchor and letting him go with a nice round back.
Yeah.
So,
Now that's what we learn over the years of teaching, whether we're teaching archer or any other sport. It's just you teach them the basics and modify to fit them.
Yeah. Yeah.
oh yeah,
Yeah. That's done it many times.
yeah. I've learned more about archery coaching than
Yeah.
I
Oh,
ever
yeah.
knew as an archer.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just it's never ending. It's never ending.
Well, and when I'm teaching something, my goal is to have them outshoot me.
Yeah.
Some coaches like, no, okay, I don't want, I'm not gonna show you this because you might outshoot me. It's like, no, I
Yeah.
want you to shoot better than me.
Yeah. You
And-
hit that point for sure. Yeah. You what was that? Well, really 3-4 years ago, you kind of just were like, all you really wanted to do was coach.
Yeah.
I mean, you would go shoot, but you had what, 4 students going at the time, I think, or something, trying to get them somewhere. And that was his main goal, was just coaching.
Yeah.
I
I turned from really being competitive about 2012, 2013, 2014. I wanted to do more on the retail side and more coaching and really got the chance to do that when Katawi Range had opened.
right.
I started the traditional, or started the recurve and longbow section of the shop over in a corner, and now we've got a third of the shop.
Yeah.
We're booming. We're 25-30% of his sales.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We it's really grown. I really enjoy that, because I'm looking to retire in a couple of years. So I think I've got myself set up as a great little niche to keep me busy in retirement. So
Yeah.
I'd be retired now if it wasn't for the project I'm working on. But I really want to
You seem to enjoy
continue
it.
this. Yeah.
The sales and the coaching and stuff. Yeah. And
I enjoy setting up people with their bows, and I have people coming in weekly to have me tune them with arrows. You take a recurve shot off the shelf, you tune the arrow to the bow.
Right.
I mean, it's rare you get an arrow and I want to shoot this arrow, and then you build a bow around an arrow. But that's
happens,
basically
sure.
what I've done for my shooting for the past 2 years.
Yeah.
I took a Three Rivers arrow and cut it down, and I built a bow around it. So, but most of the time you just tune an arrow to the bow, and I enjoy doing it. We've made a few videos for fun.
Yeah.
On tuning and speed and strings and that kind of thing. We just made them for fun. There's nothing out there actually. I never posted them anywhere.
Right.
But that's kind of stuff I'm looking forward to doing here in a few years.
Yeah, that was the part I enjoyed most about when I had my store, was setting up bows, selling the bows, setting up bows, teaching to shoot. And my theory when I sold the bows first, being mostly compounds, I did sell a few recurves to different people, but I'm going to put you into the starter bow.
Yeah.
And I'm going to teach you how to shoot. And that's always the fun part, when you teach somebody and now they're shooting, they're hitting their targets, they're getting in. And I think I've told this story, majority of the podcast, it seems like. But I had a guy come in, bought a bow, never shot before, taught him how to shoot. 2 weeks later, he's in with a Robin Hood. And it's like, now, can I guarantee you're going to get a Robin Hood?
Right.
Oh, no way. I've had several of them, but I quit shooting single spots because I got tired of wrecking arrows.
Yeah. It gets expensive for sure.
In fact, the last 2 I had was when I was working at Cabela's in the archery department, and one of them, we set up a bow. They ended up recalling it because there was problems setting it up. I shot an arrow. I drew back and the peep kind of rotated a little bit. So I had just a little bit. I shot at the back of the arrow and stuck the two of them together. You know,
Oh,
and
nice.
then we set up, there's like 3 or 4 of us that shot that bow just perfectly, set up different draw links and everything. And then they goes, oh no, the other stores had trouble setting them up. They recalled them and then brought them back
Oh,
later.
no.
And I was like, have they set up a bow?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's a struggle there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other time I did one, it was with a customer's bow, set a drop away on. And of course, with a drop away, those that don't know, you have to shoot them and see if it's going to work. And so I shot one, shot the second one, and stuck 2 of them together. And there's a guy sitting there's like, I understand we do this. Yeah, this is probably about my 8th one. The second one working here. The guy
Oh,
come in and
nice.
says, I was having trouble shooting I couldn't group my bows, but I wanted to drop away. I'm like,
Yeah.
ain't the bow, dude. I just proved that.
Nice.
Yeah. I've had several customers come in, and I've worked with them trying to tune an arrow to the bow, and I know the arrow's spined right and for the bow, and I end up putting a finger tab on and shooting their bow and punching bullet holes in the paper. And you know, I tell them, you just need some practice there, buddy.
Yeah.
You know, and you try to keep coaching them to get a smoother release, and you know, they just need to stand in front of a blind veil about 10 feet away, 5 feet away, and just stand there and shoot arrows, and watch them and videotape themselves and watch your string hand. So
when I was first learning back tension release, that's what they had us doing. There's about 20 of us in the range, and we're all shooting with our eyes closed.
Oh,
But
yeah.
we're close enough that we just lean forward, grab the arrow, pull it, and then shoot.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, if your bow is way out of tune, you're probably going to be bending arrows or breaking them because we're so close. And, and it's amazing when you shoot with a blank veil with your eyes closed, how much you can actually feel and see with your mind what's going on. I see you look at each other.
Well,
You've up in there.
Yeah. And at the very beginning, he was really big about like stand 3 steps away from the target and shoot the arrow, walk up and grab the arrow and go back to those 3 steps, just 1 arrow at a time. And that makes you reset everything. So like you reset your feet, you reset, and you just that 1 arrow 3 steps away. And a couple of years ago, I did that before we went to Trad Worlds. And I kind of went back to basics and just stood there and did that, probably 75, 100 arrows, just working on that form and stuff. And it helped tremendously. I need to do it again.
That's my go-to move if I start running into trouble and having troubles, was to skip the 3D targets. And you know, I've got an archery range in my backyard. I got 25 3D targets in my backyard set 32 yards apart, and I would just go to the bale that's hanging up and just stand there 3 feet away and just stand there and shoot my eyes closed. It just resets your subconscious. The subconscious is a powerful tool to an instinctive archer, and getting it set correctly right off the bat, you'll have fun with instinctive archery. But it's all in the subconscious. You've got to put your conscious mind on where you want the arrow to go, and your subconscious is to control the body. So your subconscious has really got to be really locked into doing its job. And the way you get it to do its job is training from 3 or 4 or 5 feet away. Just to and arrow after arrow, and make every arrow as perfect as possible. And you shoot 4 or 5 with your eyes closed and 1 with your eyes open. And you will train your subconscious in a week to control your body, and you can be shooting 70, 80 yard shots subconsciously. So I really enjoy the instinctive part of it. I've made some spectacular hunting shots, 36, 37 yards away, not knowing it's that far because I cannot judge yardage. I just don't judge yardage.
Yeah.
But just looking at my target and focusing on where I want the arrow to go. You know, I've only lost 2 deer in my life, and I've shot a few, but one of them was due to a limb. I didn't see sticking out there until I hit it. But you know, I've had really good success with it because you're so in the moment when you're deer hunting. That adrenaline is just peaking in your body. So, you know, you've got all the advantages already. And then you just, you know, just clear your mind and focus on that spot.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, speaking of trees in a way, I drew back on this deer and I heard this like thwack. And it's like, I knew I got that deer. And this was a hard hit. No, it was about 1.5 inch diameter tree I hit. Dead center that tree, stuck that muzzy broadhead right into it.
Nice.
Cut it in half.
I didn't see it.
Yeah.
It
That's
had
funny.
a big old split it about, you know, several inches up. So I just cut the tree and split it apart the rest of the way and took the arrow out.
Nice. Nice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've all had, you know, had those limbs, sticks getting away.
Yeah. The worst one I had was I drew back on this deer. I shot, completely missed it. It's like, what's going on? I couldn't figure out what's going on. And so I always had a field dip with me, and you know, in case I got tired, want to shoot a squirrel, because I think I should have brought it at a squirrel, or just, you know, it's a practice shot.
Yeah.
And so I put that field tip in there and I picked out a leaf and I nailed that leaf. And then I'm
Nice.
thinking, I forgot to aim. I drew back, forgot to aim. Because I was with a compound and I had sights on there. You got to aim them, you know,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
Right.
not really aim, but you got to pick a pin to put over the
Right.
target. And I didn't do that. It's like, you know,
Forgot
that
how to
was,
shoot for a second.
yeah. And it wasn't like I was new either. So
Right.
they always got to go. It's like, okay, pick a spot. And I've seen guys have on their bow, it says pick a spot right on a piece of paper, just tape right to their limb. Pick a spot.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you only do
Oh,
that
yeah.
once or twice, and then you remember to pick a spot.
Yeah, you learn your lesson.
Start thinking through your shot.
Yeah,
Yeah. Shooting a compound is not a subconscious thing.
Mm.
You are relying on your conscious mind throughout the entire shot.
Yeah, you have to go once you get where you're aiming and you start to pull. Now then your conscious mind just aims, but it takes all this act to get up to that point where now, okay, I'm starting my aim, you know, my process. Let the subconscious, you know, the gross motor skills take over. Fine motor skills, aim, and you know, you're not really looking at the pin, because if you look at the pin, what are you aiming at? Where the pin is at? You have to look at the target, put the pin over it, and you know, that's a different concept to look at altogether. Is, and from instinctive shooting, I look at the target.
Right.
So, and I can't see the pins very well anyway. You know, there's a little bit of cataract forming in the right eye. It's not as sharp as it used to be. And so, you know, the fiber optic pins I see as a little black dot in the center of my fiber optic pin. Like, okay, this is not supposed to be a donut, it's supposed to be a red dot. So I don't take those long shots anymore. It's too hard to see those long shots. You know, bow's got plenty of power to do it. It just, I don't take those long shots anymore because I can't see the target very well.
Yeah.
Unless I want to go shooting left-handed, and I'm right dominant.
Yeah, there you go.
So I went to the eye doctor the other day, and he says, "Okay, go back." I was like, "Oh, you want to know if I'm right or left eye dominant? I'm right eye dominant." I've checked 1,000 times, because you know, every time you get somebody in a bow shop, you go, okay, what's your dominant eye? So I'll go through and do that. And it's like, okay, maybe the blurry eye, but it's still the dominant eye.
It's still the dominant.
Yeah. It's the one making decisions.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
come on.
I always think it's funny when the eye doctors try and figure out. It's like, hey, right out there, no, it's like, okay, I'll play a game. It's right. It's like, okay, here you go. Yeah, we do that. We do with scouts. We'll have them all line up. This is okay.
Oh
As
yeah.
I walk by, I want you to move your hand up, look at my nose, do that hole. And then I was like, okay, right, left, right, whatever it is. And it's, just because you're right-handed doesn't mean you're right-eye dominant.
Right.
In my case, I
Yeah.
am. I'm right-handed as well as right-eye dominant. But I actually had a set of twins come in the one store when I worked at Bass Pro. They were twins.
Yeah.
One was right-handed, one was left-handed. The right-hander was left eye dominant, the left-hander was right eye dominant.
Oh
Oh,
They're
wow.
completely opposite on
Yeah.
their dominant
Oh my
eye as well as
gosh.
their dominant hand.
Their
It's like,
hand.
okay, this is
Wow.
weird.
Wow. My daughter, when she was little, every time her eye dominancy would flip. So every time we would stick the opposite bow in her hand, her eye would flip to the other one. And so finally just went to Party City and got a bunch of the pirate eye patches just to force her right eye to be dominant. And now she doesn't have any issues, but yeah, she wore that pirate eye patch for several years trying to make sure her eye dominancy would stay on the one eye. So
Oh,
it worked.
That's pretty common with kids,
Yeah.
younger kids that have their eye dominancy flip back and forth.
Yeah.
yeah. And when you're getting a bow, that's not like something you can change easily.
No.
I know with mine, I have double vision, and I prism my glasses to kind of correct for that, but I still see two sets of pins. And my mind
yeah.
over the years, the right eye has always been clear, left eye's been, the little blurrier of the two.
Right.
And so my mind just ignored the dim set of pins. I don't even realize they're there until one day I was out hunting and didn't realize that the right eye was now fogging over a little bit. My
Oh,
left eye
wow.
picked, because it was clear, it picked up the pins. So
Yeah.
I know that pin was right over that kill zone. And
Wow.
I hit it in the back hit artery in the back hip. So I still got the deer. And then, okay, I know that pin was, I know I picked the spot. I know it was there. So I go
Yeah.
down the range. When I practice, I always close my left eye because, a little more easier that way. But hunt, I like to hunt with them open because then I can
Yeah.
see more around as well.
Oh,
I can see
yeah.
movement. So I shot, left eye closed, nailed it. Opened up both eyes, and I was off by, well, I shot at the right hand on a 5 spot and I missed the target to the left.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So now that I'm going out, I'm trying to blink my left eye to force me to pick up the correct pin. And then I discovered one time I was out, I have a hooded sweatshirt on. I always wear a baseball cap. And as I turned my head, the hood didn't move. So it
Oh,
blocked my
wow.
left eye. Problem solved. I just got to wear a hood when I'm hunting or
Right.
shooting.
Yeah.
Because if I turn
Solves
my
all
head, it covers it up. Solve the problem.
Oh, that's good.
There's ways around it, but
Yep.
So where do you plan on taking your archery? Because you kind of alluded to it, but
Yeah. I Bowman. Sorry. Yeah, I just don't want to turn anything down. Like, obviously cost becomes a factor at some point on like where I can get to and where I can't. But I definitely like I intend to try out for the team next year for the 3D World Championship again. And then like the one that keeps getting away from me is the IBO Traditional Worlds. I keep getting second. I can't quite get first. So, that's coming up at, I think like the 3rd week in July. So I'm really kind of trying to, I'm really trying to gear up for that. This will be my first trip to Compton, which is just a fun shoot, but still, I just want to take it all in. And I've never been to the Tennessee Classic or Kentucky Trad Fest. I'd like to try to at least go to them and check it out and see, what they're about and what they're like. I just want to try to take in everything I can, archery wise, I guess. I shot for the IFAA Indiana 3D. I had never shot that before. So I shot a qualifier earlier in the year. I think there's one coming up in a couple of weeks I want to go shoot. But that's local stuff still. I've done Vegas 3 times now, indoor Vegas. That was really cool. I got to do Lancaster this year. That was neat. You know, I just want to try some of these things that I've never got to do yet, and you know, see what they're about, see what they're like. Each shoot kind of has its own little uniqueness to it, I guess. Yeah. So I don't intend to, at least right now, switch from the traditional class, shooting off the shelf and all that. Like I said, I am doing the gapping. I attempted to try the string walking, but I have no intention in strictly going string walking. I have no intention right now of going to like Olympic recurve or anything like that. But you never know, you know, like I said, I don't want to ever, you know, not try something, I guess. But for right now, I'm pretty happy with what I'm shooting and how I'm shooting, and, you know, go from there, see what happens.
Just have fun shooting your bow.
Yeah. Pretty much.
That's all it is. Let's go have fun shooting your bow.
Yeah. Yep. And that's what, I don't get too much into coaching or anything like that. I like I said, I help run the kids team, but it's more the paperwork and making sure that, you know, kids know where they need to be. And I show up, I'm there. And I try to give some guidance here and there, but like I've told them, I'm not done shooting the bow yet. You know, I think you kind of hit that point where you're not done shooting the bow, but you're wanting to move the coaching and stuff like that, like a few years ago. And I'm not to that point yet. I'm still, I don't know that I have anything to prove, but I'm just not done. So, yeah.
Well, you know, each person has their own goals, and
Yeah.
you know, yours is just have fun
Yeah.
shoot. You've got so much more to do, and you
Right.
know, as you get older, you know, it's like traveling all those tournaments, you know, and yeah, there's just so many other things to do, and it's just so much, you know, for John and myself, you know, we like doing the coaching, and
Right. Yeah.
I haven't went to any tournament in many years,
Yeah.
you know, and I started you know, doing some online coaching, and actually the first guy that when I was getting ready to set something up for online coaching, I had a guy that's actually in the group, but it had no coaches around him. I said, hey, I'm gonna get an online coaching program. Hey, I'll coach you for free, just how it works. And he was over in Italy. He didn't have a coach over there. So
wow.
he'd send a video, I'd critique it and send it back, and he was getting better and better. And you know, just go through different stuff like that. And you know, it's kind of nice now, because when I first started coaching, you know, you're watching them shoot. There's no cameras, because cell phones didn't exist with cameras in them. A
Right.
cell phone was flip it open, dial, and call somebody. There was no smartphones, there was no cameras, and
Right.
and you know, if you want to record them, you're gonna do a VCR tape. Then you're gonna have to play it back on a TV, and you can't really slow it down. You know, it's grainy unless you get a real high quality one.
Say more hassle than it was worth.
Oh yeah. And now the phones, you know, like this, I do, except for I do my podcast and stuff like here, I do it on my phone.
Yeah.
You know, so here I have a Logitech 920 camera, so you know, I get a good clear. And amazing how crappy the camera was on the laptop.
Oh yeah.
But these cell phones now have such great cameras in them. You know, you can do slow motion, you can do super slow motion, you can do wide angle, you can do all kinds of stuff, and the quality on the resolution is amazing how much quality you have in them. And now it's so much easier. You know, I've done that. I had a guy on, and I was just watching him shoot on the Zoom call and giving him pointers, and you know, just the hour I spent with him on the phone, he went from probably 6-inch groups to 3 hours touching, you know, in a couple of weeks. And you know, that's the power of a coach.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Not saying I'm the best coach, but you know, I have a track record of helping people, and you know,
no, because all the time I'm like, something doesn't feel right. Like I don't see it, I don't feel it, as far as like knowing for sure what's wrong, but I know something's not right. And I mean, all the time, watch me shoot, like something's wrong, something's not working right.
Yeah.
So
sometimes it's all right there. Sometimes you just need to shoot the bow. Quit worrying about all the extras and just shoot the bow.
Yeah.
I actually had a guy that was, I forget which level it was, but he was a fairly high level shooter. And you know, I was looking at his video, I was like, oh, you're doing that right, doing that. Oh, try this little bitty tweak. It's just a little
Yeah.
bitty tweak is all, all I could find it really needed the adjustment. But sometimes a little tweak can take you from, missing to hitting right where you're at. And
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then
Right.
taking the
It's
different
smallest
angles.
thing.
Yeah.
Take an angle from up above so you can see what the front arm is doing. Is it going straight to the target, or is it moving off to the side? If
Right.
it's moving off the side, it's probably causing a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I use an app called Coach's Eye.
Yeah.
And that is fantastic. You can actually, when the strings release from the fingers, you have 4 frames of the arrow in the picture.
Yeah.
Is how slow, and you can,
Oh yeah.
and it's just not slow motion. It's you can control each frame of that picture, and you can see exactly
cool.
what you're doing at the point of impact.
Yeah.
Or it's
Yeah,
for the
you
point
use
of
that
you
quite a bit.
release. It's really good.
Yeah.
She had a grabbing
Mhm.
problem, and she wasn't trusting her finger sling, and she was going to the left, and it was all, for whatever reason, 4 years later, she starts grabbing the bow, and
And I swore I wasn't.
oh yeah, that was an interesting conversation in the middle of the woods of 3D targets.
Yeah.
But I finally just pulled out that
Yeah.
Coach's Eye, and she
Sure
shot.
enough, I was.
Yeah, she's grabbing at the bow, and like I said, been 4 years since she'd done that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, sometimes you can swear you're not doing it. I know a buddy of mine, he always shot fingers for many years. He shot fingers.
Oh yeah.
And got a new bow, and he wanted to go to release. So they put a release on there, and I told him, it's like, draw it back the release, put your finger behind the trigger. And of course, he was drawing back, fingers and the finger up there, and he smacked himself in the mouth.
Oh no.
And I said, you pulled the trigger, didn't you? It's like, no, I didn't pull the trigger. Yeah, but you did pull the trigger.
Yeah.
You pulled the trigger. Your finger's in front of the trigger, and you pulling it back. Because
Yeah,
what
that's
happens,
it sounded like.
you draw them back to your face, because you're not drawing out here in
Right.
front of you. You're drawing toward your face. If that goes off, you're smacking yourself in the mouth.
Yep.
yep.
Of course, a good quality release helps in some of that problems too.
Yeah.
Way back when I started, I had a release. The name of it was on the side was fail safe. Well, it failed safely and stuck the arrow up in the ductwork in the ceiling.
Oh no.
The swivel head broke off and went flying about 30 yards downrange.
Oh wow.
It was an indoors.
Yeah.
And so looking at it, yeah, the quality of their machining was just so thin right where that met in there. And I had 2 of them. I had another one that didn't work near as well as that one. And then I had a machinist friend of mine make the new piece on it so I could use it.
Yeah.
But I use Scott and Carter's is what I use. I bought a release, a Scott release from Bill Lewis. You may know him. He actually went over to Italy too, compound 3D shooter.
Yeah.
And I still have it, and that's my
Nice
cold weather release, because then I can, I just need the little finger open, and I keep the rest of the glove on it so I can keep my hand somewhat warm. A little bit warmer, I have a Carter Chocolate Addiction I use. It's a thumb.
Oh, Cheyenne had one of those.
And I put the trigger clear back into here, because you don't see so many people, they're out there and they slam on the trigger with their thumb.
Yep.
It's not really a thumb triggered release, because index fairly dexterous, the thumb is not. So now you're trying to use something that has very little dexterity to try and pull.
Yeah.
So you can fire all those releases back tension release.
Yeah.
And then when I had the store, I had a True Fire called me up and wanted me to carry their releases, and I told them, well, if Walmart carries it, I won't. And they had a handheld one, and because I didn't want to compete in price.
Right.
But they had a handheld one, and he sent it to me to try out to see how well it worked, because it was at that time was less than half the price of a Carter.
Oh, yeah.
So you can get into a thumb held release for, instead of being $150 to $200, you can get into them for $60, $70. So I have it. I do carry it with me when in my hunting bag, but
Yeah.
I don't shoot it as well because I can feel the trigger move.
Mm.
So once you feel the trigger move, then
Yeah, let's go.
then you're thinking about it.
Right.
Same thing with fingers. If you feel it sliding off your fingers, now what are you thinking about?
Yeah.
The
It's
finger,
too
the
late.
string sliding on your fingers.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what I tell people. It's like, your first lesson in shooting a release, quit pulling the trigger. And somebody's like, well, how do you know I'm pulling trigger? Like, I just do. I've done this many times. I do.
Yeah.
Quit pulling the trigger. That's not your first lesson for free.
Yeah.
And the same thing, when you probably don't teach how they used to do hold it. I remember way back when is that the way you release the bow was just open your fingers.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, that worked back then, but can you consistently do this, or do you come out, and then you see people will do this and their hand ends up over here. And it's like, then when you look at the guys that are really doing well, their hand ends up back here on their shoulder. I can't get my thumb to my shoulder. My arm just won't go there. So I can't go back that far. That's about as far as it'll go. I can force it back, but I'm just not flexible that way. So
Right.
I'm
It's
still
that-
gonna use the same technique, but
Yeah.
It's that 1/4 inch of movement. I mean, you're pushing the bow towards the target, and you're got constant pull on that string, and you're not letting go of the string. You don't let go of the string anymore. You relax your fingers. It's like your fingers just disappear off the string,
Yeah.
right off the
Yeah.
end of your hand.
Yeah.
And it's that less than 1/4 inch of movement that your hand makes. And in reality, by the time your hand does move, the arrow's long gone out of the bow anyway. So
Yeah.
as long as you're not moving outward or forward, then the arrow's already gone by the time you relax your fingers or you let go. The only thing that is a real killer I have found is shooting split fingers and then trying to use your fingers and beat the string. You're just not going to do it. It's just best if you just relax your hand. I mean, you've got all that tension, and then just relax your hand. And that will give you a more consistent release than anything else I've found. I shoot pretty much a dead hand where, I'm pulling, and I just relax my fingers here. A lot of people, I don't teach that because a lot of people want to go forward when they shoot
Right.
instead of expanding. Any movement, I tell them, any movement backwards is good movement, as long as you're pulling through the string. You
Right.
have all that stored energy in your core from pushing forward and pulling back. All that energy is going to a point in your chest. And then when you release it, you need to explode outward and not away from you. You need to explode forward in one direction and backwards in the other. And that is probably your cleanest release you're going to have.
And that's similar to what I teach for compound. I teach that the hand, you don't want to have a locked arm. Well, 2 reasons. One, the locked arm creates pressure in the shoulder, and the arm just kind of floats. Drop it down and push towards the target. And I say, that hand should point directly to the target. When you're done shooting, that index finger should be pointing at the X that you're shooting for.
Yeah.
If it's not pointing at that, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
And what I do is I always carried in my 3D ring a piece of string, loop material, and I had a loop around the thumb, and I had it my draw length. And now if I feel something wrong, I'm going to take and I'm going to shoot that string. I'm going to put the pressure on it and make that go off. And if the string hangs up on my hand, my form is off.
Oh,
I keep working my form until my hand goes straight to target and the string jumps towards my target.
Yeah.
Once it does that, my form is back in, next shot, good shot.
Yeah.
And that's something you could probably do as well with fingers. You just have to have a little
Right.
bit bigger loop because your finger's going in there. And you
Right.
shoot, if that does not go towards your target,
Right.
then your form it's going sideways.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah,
can't
I mean,
consistently go side, you consistently go forward and back.
Right.
I'll have to give it a
Yeah.
try.
Yeah.
Yeah, try that. I
Yeah.
think you'll be amazed at how much you can see in your form error by doing
Right.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Huh.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I tell people to use a mirror when they're just learning to anchor. Get in front of a
Right.
mirror, stand in front of a mirror, draw that string back and get it in your face and see what feels comfortable. That
Right.
reassures it in your subconscious. If you're seeing it and feeling it at the same time, your subconscious is going to pick it up. It's going to make a quicker routine for shooting.
Yeah.
So, in your draw cycle. So, yeah.
And then you can also use the string thing, because when you do that, the string should hit itself as you're going.
Right.
You're looking at where your hand is. That string should hit your hand if
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
going straight to the target. Because if you're pointing up or down, and you're close, so it's not like it's going to have a lot of gravity going to drop it. Because
Right.
it's going to come off there with a little bit of a speed.
Yeah.
'Cause I've had them go 5 feet, in front of me before it hits the ground. And
Oh, nice.
because you have put a lot of pressure in it, because you got to push forward. Now, it is a little bit weird on the hand because you're putting it right on the thumb.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it does, because it's wanting to pull back on the thumb. So you have to kind of really make sure you get it down
Yeah.
into your hand where you're pushing. And when it goes off, that hand should go straight to the target, because you're kind
Yeah.
of up like this. When you go, your hand's going to go that way because it's naturally going to the target.
Right.
Yeah.
Huh.
And your bow is already gone forward anyway. Your arrow's
Right.
long gone.
Yeah.
At that point, you can't affect the arrow,
Yeah.
because it's gone.
Yeah.
And, but,
I actually use a old riser and a rubber tube, exercise tube.
oh yeah,
And there's not much stretch there, but that gets people to feel with a little tension and an actual riser in their hand. And you go through the hand placement of the riser and an anchor, and then they get a few dry fires in there without hurting anything. So
yeah. Yeah, you
Yeah,
can probably take that and put a little pin on the front, put your string around it. So when you shoot, if your hand's going forward, it should go forward. If you're not, you're going to
Yeah.
be pulling off the side.
yeah,
Right.
So
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that we can do to kind of help things out.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, a lot of tools out there, and I'm interested in all of it. So
Yeah,
because
Yeah, there
everybody's
is.
different. Everybody learns different.
Yeah.
Some pick it up faster than others. So
yeah,
and pick it up
it's-
differently.
Yeah, and that's the thing that we learn over the years of doing it is each person's a little different, but that's the fun part, it's figuring, okay, what's going on,
Yeah.
let's figure out what's going on and get it, get it solved. And then when you figure it out, it's just so much fun. I know when I've told this story, if somebody listened on my podcast, I've told the story before, but I got this call late in the evening, fairly late in the evening. A guy wanted me to set up his bow to shoot 2 arrows at one time. Now, he called the other 2 shops in town and they says no. They just flat said no.
Yeah.
And I says, well, that's not normally done, but
Right.
if you stop by after we close, you can afford me to look at it.
Yeah.
If we're open, yeah, it's going to cost you a fortune me to just see if we can do it. So I said, come in afterwards, we're going to play. So
Yeah.
it was fortunate. It was one of the non-center shot risers. It was back, 20 years ago when, bows had stick-on rests and stuff like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
And so I was able to put on 2 rests on there, and he wanted to use a release. And what it was, he was a motivational speaker, and he wanted to get the kids' attention.
Huh.
Shoot 2 arrows, pop 2 balloons or something.
Right.
So we started setting it up, and we changed where the fletching was aligned, and whether we're putting the loop in between the knocks, above the bottom one, above the top one, over the top and bottom of them, because you had to put 2 knock points on,
Yeah.
for the middle one, the bottom
Yeah.
one, because the string could be the top one. So finally, we got it all done. We got it all set up. And we found that the only way we get consistent arrow flight is put the knot above the top one and below the bottom one. Only one knock point, just because the second one
Yeah.
had to have one or it'd slide up.
Right.
And we was able to shoot every shot. The difference between the spacing was no more than 1/8 of an inch between shot to shot. So we measure
Wow.
the spacing, the next group, shoot, measure them. So we got it down to that's where they were going to go. They go that space. Now it depend on, I get a shot is where they're going to go, but the
Right.
difference between where the arrow impacts was consistently about 1/8 of an inch variation between all the shots.
Wow.
Yeah.
One of the things
Good.
that teaches you is you have to have the force going straight from the knock to the tip.
Yeah.
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 And those that put the loop below it, you're causing a bad angle. And I always tell people, take a pencil or something that's straight and push straight from the back of it to the front of it, and that's going to go straight.
Right.
Go to an angle when it wants to turn. That's the same thing an arrow's going to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where, where's you're putting your knock point.
Yeah.
That can make a difference,
Yeah.
on how your flight is.
Oh, yeah.
Are you up above the burger button? Is it below it, or is it right centered with it, or is it part way in and up? And you can change all those and change the way
Yeah.
you shoot.
Yeah. We had to do that a bunch when I first started trying to dabble in it a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. A couple years ago, we had about 1/8 inch and a quarter knock height from
Yeah.
level. We had it about 1.25 inch knock height, so she could get the tip of the arrow almost to the center of the target
Yeah.
without it, and the arrow's shooting downward instead of shooting straight out and arching up and dropping down. She was shooting downwards towards the target.
Yeah.
But she was able to get that point of that arrow near the center of the target.
Yeah.
And consistently indoors at 20 yards.
Right.
That wasn't as near as important knock height wise as it would be like out on a 3D range where you don't know how far you're going to be standing.
Right.
25 or
Right.
20 or 10 or how far. But we had it. The arrow flight was the ugliest I've ever seen.
It was rough.
But it hit. If she shot the same way every time,
Right.
it hit the same place.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what we were going for. We wasn't
Right.
going for a well-tuned bow. We were going for a consistent impact at the
Right.
target.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So
Wow.
it worked out pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the important part is, where's that impact?
Right.
Yeah.
Can you keep it the same? And
Yeah.
the same thing, and no matter what projectile you're shooting,
Yeah.
you need
Right.
to have a consistency to do that, whether you're shooting a bow or a bullet, you just got to have that consistent loading and consistency behind it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a lot easier to do on a known distance
Right.
and at
Yeah.
a known target than, like I said, the 3D woods where,
Right.
wow,
Everything changes.
everything changes.
Yeah. Every target's different.
Yeah. I got into a discussion with an Olympic archer about footing. And she was talking about how important footing was. And I told her, not in my sport, footing doesn't mean anything. Yeah, you shoot from the waist up because you never know what you're standing on,
Yeah.
Right.
Her student has been shooting since the 60s,
Yeah.
Olympic style. He was just shot Sal Cal.
It's okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And he I took him out for his first 3D trip through the woods. That was really interesting. Taking an Olympic style archer, and he's one of the top 5 senior archers in the United States.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Tom Harden,
Yeah.
and I took him out for his first 3D adventure in the woods, and he brought it up himself. He says, "I see now what you mean by the footing. The footing doesn't mean anything."
Yeah.
He says, "You're shooting from your
Right.
hips up," and the man done spectacular.
Yeah. He did really well.
Shot instinctively.
Yeah.
He's
With a wooden shooting off the shelf
longbow.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah,
longbow.
he shot a longbow
Yeah,
off the shelf and done spectacular. I was
Yeah.
amazed. Yeah, he said when he got back, he was going to shoot traditional archery with us. So he's looking forward to shooting our traditional state championship coming up the first next month.
yeah,
You know, he said he was this was his last Olympic style tournament, and when he got back to Indiana, he was going to start shooting traditional archery. So
yeah,
I find that interesting, and he had a blast.
yeah.
He had an absolute blast, and I was really impressed. I think he only missed about 2-3 targets.
Maybe, yeah, on
Yeah.
a 30 target course.
Yeah,
Yeah,
on a 30
Yeah.
target course.
He shot really well.
Yeah,
Yeah. But yeah, and it helped because he had the form down. He knew how to shoot a bow.
Right.
It was just picking up a different bow in the terrain and shooting a different target each time. I mean, he was used to shooting, Olympic style shooting. You stand in one place and you shoot the long distance, and that's the same target every time.
Yeah.
So but he accommodated really well and adjusted very, very well.
yeah. I was impressed with him.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about that a little bit earlier on your form. You bend at the waist. It doesn't matter what your feet are doing. This is your form. And if you have to shoot back or forward or up or down, it's all, this is locked.
Right,
The
right.
relationship here is locked no matter what you do. If you
Yeah.
have to
Yep.
move forward or back, you just bend at the waist and, down, up and
Right.
that's the thing. Once you get that idea in there, then, because I've done that. It's like drop my arm down. It's like, I can't see through my peeps no more. I'm like, well, put it lined up.
Right.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. We've got a pretty good uphill shot on target. Our last target of the
Yeah.
on our 3D range at Canterbury, and first one up, man, she was about this far under the target, and I said, "Throw your hips forward," and she zinged at the next one.
Yeah.
She hammered it on the second shot at the target. So
Yeah.
that's she can't remember the hips,
Yeah,
up and
yeah.
down hips.
Well, that's what most
Okay.
of Katawi is pretty flat. It's just there's those two targets in the back that are up a hill. There might be a couple at the front that are a little slight downhill, not bad though. But yeah, every time I forget. Every time.
Well, one thing you might need to practice is standing there and stand with your feet, not lined up your target, and bend your hips so that your core is lined up.
Yeah.
And,
Yep.
and then to help her up and down, he'll put a little step there. So you have to step up on a step, and then get your distance and
Right. I think you had me stand out on a picnic table one time trying to shoot down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Years ago, part of my routine was shooting a bag target on the ground, and then I put it on a 10-foot ladder and shot up at it until I got the hang of it. So I knew there was a lot of difference, because the more you vary from your form straight across like a T, the shorter that draw gets. So with a recurve, the less poundage you have, and you start shooting under and over the targets. So
yeah, because it's important to draw back the same exact distance. What is it, roughly 3 pounds per inch that you pull back. So if you put 3 pounds more in it, it's going to go further. 3 pounds less, it makes a lot of difference. And I see people overbow themselves because they draw back and they can't. They're getting their thumb to their mouth. They can't get their fingers there. It's like, pull their, but it's too much bow for them. Like, drop down, get that form.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a lot of the I've found through the years, which is one of the reasons I started getting into the
That's your alarm.
I started getting into the instruction part of it. Was I found that just a lot of the compound people think they know about recurves and longbows, but they really don't. I mean, I've seen guys get set up and come into the shop and wonder why their arrow's sideways. And I had a guy show up with a 25-pound bow and arrows that could be shot out of a 90-pound compound. And they sold him the arrows because they had feathers on. So yeah, I sold him 1,000 spine arrow, and he had 300 or 250 spine arrows, and I sold him 1,000 spine arrow and just made all difference in the world.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was,
definitely makes a difference on the spine of the arrow, and on like a lot of the compounds, you can shoot an overspined arrow. It generally doesn't really hurt much. Under spine, yeah, you get turbo air flight and they can break easier.
yeah,
But, the one compound I had when I was shooting aluminums, I was shooting 2512s, which is way overspined for what I was shooting. 20,
That's a
70
stiff
pounds,
dude.
29 inches. It was a really stiff one, but you know what? It shot perfect out of that bow. And
Yeah.
it's one of the old owns, if you remember back in the in the 70s and 80s, the compound bow, the rests, besides a little bit of an overdraw, you had to take the two pins, you had to take the outside pin off to loosen it up to just the inside pin. And then you got to put the other one back in. And it's not right. So then you got to take it out, put it back in, take it out, put it back in. And I finally got it set up. So when I sold it to the guys, when I finally sold it, I told them, it's like, okay, unless you change the rest, do not shoot any arrow but this one. You always have to shoot this arrow because that rest is set up for that. You don't want to set up for any other one. If you buy different arrows, I'm not setting that rest up because
Right.
it's way too much work.
Yeah. Was that the old TM Hunter?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, not a very good finger shooting rest. Very unforgiving.
No, it wasn't very good for fingers either.
No,
It just didn't have that side pressure to help stabilize it. It just
no.
two prongs sit up and you put your feather shoots through the prongs, and great rest for what I was using it for.
Yeah.
Now there's so much better rest out there that
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. It's changed so much, but it's all the same. It's
Right.
it's stayed the same.
Well,
I'm just glad.
and like archery, one of my podcasts did the history of archery, and I'm
Oh,
doing
wow.
research on it. I found that archery, they found evidence of it being 64,000 years old.
Oh wow.
Now, what sport or weapon can you say has been used for 64,000 years
Yeah.
besides a bow and arrow?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Besides rocks.
Yeah, rocks, but yeah, that's not really a weapon, but it can
Yeah.
be used as a weapon.
Right.
And my definition of a string, I posted this one time, this is prove me wrong. Archery is a stick with a string flinging another stick.
Yeah.
Prove me wrong.
Right.
And nobody
right.
could, because
Yeah.
you've got your long bows, you got your recurves, you got your all the different Asian bows. They're a stick with a string flinging another stick. You have your compounds, which is basically a stick with a string flinging another stick. What's a
Yeah.
crossbow? A stick with a string flinging another stick.
Yeah. Right.
That's just archery.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, from there, yeah, things change, but it's all the same basic concept.
Right.
We
Right.
store energy and aim, and
Yeah.
let
Yeah.
bow do the rest.
Yeah.
That's what I tell you, is our job as an archer is to store energy and aim.
Yeah.
That's all we got to do, because we're going to let the subconscious fire it, because we don't care. We're just
Right.
we're gonna aim it where we need it to go, and it'll eventually go off,
Right.
or it should
Yeah.
eventually go off.
Yeah.
It'll hit somewhere.
Yeah, and I tell people, if you use the release correctly, so that you're using that back tension release, you don't know when it's going off, you're never going to have target panic, because you
Yeah.
never know when it's going to go off.
Yeah.
And I'll tell people that target panic is caused by looking at your pin and trying to time it. Because
Yeah.
what'll happen is, I learned this way back when I was learning back tension release. You see the pin going across the target, your mind says, pull the trigger. You start pulling the trigger. What happens? The pin moves off, and you say, don't shoot.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
it comes back, and then next thing you do, you're doing it again. Okay, try it. Nope. Or you're punching it. And one of the things
Yeah.
I did with a lot of my new students, and they get the bow, and I'm teaching them how to do it. I says, okay, once we get all bows set up for them, I says, okay, draw back, finger off the trigger, completely off the trigger. That's all you're going to do is aim. I'm going to pull the trigger at some point,
Yeah.
and they're aiming, and I pull that trigger, and 9 times out of 10, they hit right where they're supposed to go.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, now that's a surprise release. That's how all of them should feel. If you don't feel that, then you're doing it wrong.
Right.
A little bit harder with the recurve or longbow because you can't fire it for them. But
Yeah, that's a whole nother critter.
Right.
Yeah. I've
Yeah.
found with target panic, once you get them to shut their eyes and just
Mm.
shoot into a bale, the
right,
target panic goes away.
right,
And you try to ingrain in them to make that release, subconscious.
Mm.
If you're using the tip of the arrow for a sight, then stare at that target, get that tip of the arrow in your secondary vision, and then just relax. And sometimes you can pull somebody out of target panic with that. And I've seen times where you just start from scratch and start with instinctive archery.
Mm.
Yeah.
And that'll get target panic out of somebody. But it's the Joel Turner, I think, has got the best program out there right now. Is completing tasks, completing jobs. Do not move to your next step of your shot until this step is done.
Right.
I've watched a lot of his stuff, and I've redone the way I teach people to shoot a lot from that.
Yeah.
Because, like I said earlier, I'm from the old Fred Bear, shoot like Fred Bear.
right.
And Fred Bear's on video saying, "Don't shoot like me." And and I've been fighting the snap shooting bug for 50 some years. And but once I watched his video, I've slowed down. I've started completing tasks in my shot and slowed my shot down to, I got my feet set. I got the arrow knocked. I got the good grip on the bow. I got a good grip on the string. Those tasks are done. All right, now I got my bow pointing towards the target. I'm drawing the bow. I've got it anchored. Those tasks are done. All right. Now I'm focusing on the target. And okay, I've got my aim done. Everything's lined up. Everything's ready to go. Now it's time to release. And I've found that series a little more defined than that, but that series of task completion slows that shot down and gives your aim time a lot more. And I'm a big believer in, stop before you release that string, stop moving.
Yeah.
And then do the release and follow through.
Yeah.
That's I think completing a list of tasks one at a time in 5 seconds, is the big key.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a similar process with shooting the compound. I have a sling, like I said, the lower limb in, and I don't know how I ever hunted without having one of those. I have for many years. I was like, oh man, it's so nice because I can actually rest my arm on a bow instead of holding the bow up, trying to put it in my hip. And so I even do that in the 3D. On my 3D rig is there. When I go shoot, I have that rig on and I put that lower limb in there and I start from there and I get my grip and then, I get my hand in position and draw up a little pressure and then I go through the whole thing. And if I draw back and, I do look at my level once in a while. No, not really much anymore, but if it doesn't feel like it's level, now if I'm on the side of a hill, I'll glance at it just to make sure it's level. But I don't look at it. It's like if it don't feel right, I'll let down and start over. You can't tweak your hand. That's the thing a lot of people do. It's like, okay, it's not there. I'm going to tweak my hand. Now you've messed everything up. You better just let down. You always have time.
Right.
Now, if you're in a hunting situation and you drew back on that deer and all of a sudden something's not right, you can't really let down, but
you still want to make a good shot.
Enough, if you practice enough, you're just gonna automatically do that whole process. And
yeah. That's why I like to see people get out onto the 3D range before season. A dozen 20 times, just to get familiar with their bow again. Because
Right.
I hate seeing the guy take the bow out of the bow case and go to Walmart and buy a hunting license, and we're going hunting in the morning.
Right.
He looks and makes sure his cables and strings are still on there, and then he takes off. So yeah.
Or worse yet, the guy comes in, it's like, a week for hunting season. He says, "Is it normal for my strings to break in my bow case over the summer?" And I says, "Well, no, not normally. I've had one of mine because it was way past due of being replaced. Finally just broke. But I come in, open the case up, and here's broadheads in the lid of the bow case just exposed. Like, it's not normal for them to break, but it is normal when they get cut."
Right.
Yeah. How? Yeah. Seen a lot of different things, being around archery shop and you owning them. Some of it's just plain funny. Some of it's just funny.
I remember one time at the archery club I belonged to, we had a broadhead sight-in day. So we brought in a couple of broadhead targets because you're not shooting broadheads into a cardboard backstop.
Right.
It just ain't gonna happen. And it wasn't out very far. I think it was only about 10 yards from the just shoot at. And I was amazed at how many people could not hit the target.
Wow. Yeah.
Not alone just hitting in the kill zone, but this couldn't even hit the normal was it about 1.5 2 foot square block.
Yeah.
Couldn't even hit it.
Yeah.
Like, and you're gonna go hunt?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Mandy and I were just shooting broadheads a couple 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
We was changing broadheads and went to a Vantage Point Archery broadhead made here in Indiana, and we took them out and lined them up on feathers and done a little rotating, a little tuning, and started shooting them. And there's no reason not to hit what we're shooting at now. So we'll revisit that come September.
Right.
And we'll probably shoot once or twice a week, shoot broadheads, and until we get ready to hunt, and then put on the good ones, sharp ones for hunting.
Yeah, we thought we were going to need them for a tournament we were going to, and we ended up not needing them. But it was still, fun to get them back out and play around with them. And,
we're shooting them 25, 27 yards.
Yeah.
And making great shots with recurves.
Yeah.
In them. So I
well,
was very impressed.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were doing really well.
Yeah, I always tuned my broadhead so I could hit the X ring with the broadheads, because I figure if I can do that, then I'm good. I don't have to worry about the arrows. They're on. And now they don't shoot anywhere close to my field tips out of that bow.
Yeah.
But I have a bow for hunting. I actually have 2 PSEs, one's a 2001 and the other's a 2003. I like new equipment.
Well, old reliables.
I do have a newer Bear in the snow camo. I forget what brand it is. When I worked at Cabela's, they got all the returns in, and this one, the string was bad, and there was a screw stripped on the string stop. And being a tech, I know how to fix that, and I make strings, so I just made a new string and fixed it all up, and I've never set it up yet. I got 2 other bows I got to get set up for next hunting season.
Oh, nice.
I got 2 bows. I made new strings for them, and I haven't even got them set up yet. It's like, oh man, bow tech without a bow to shoot.
Right.
That's kind of like the car mechanic. Never works on his own cars. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We've been lucky with equipment being hooked up with Three Rivers Archery. Jonathan Karsh has really been over backwards to help us and the rest of the teams spread across the country with equipment and advice and arrows and points and just feathers and everything. They've been real good to us the past 3-4 years.
Yeah.
So it's been a real pleasure working with them and shooting their equipment. They got great quality stuff. besides carrying a lot of other major brands,
Yeah.
So she's been killing it with a DOS
Yeah.
for 4 years. I don't think she's shooting the same thing. And she's got second place in the IBO Worlds 4 years in a row.
Yeah.
It's the same setup,
Yeah.
just different arrows.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And that's good. You know, you're going to get first at the next one.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
That's I guess you could say that's my next goal that's coming up.
Yeah.
So it's top of my list right
Just-
now.
It's all in the mind. You got to believe you're going to get,
Right.
you're going to get first. So where are you going to hit the next one?
I'm gonna win.
There you go. Yeah, there's a lot to be said of that. You know, you just
Yeah.
think of it between now and then, you know, shooting those
Yeah.
perfect scores, and then when you
Yeah.
get there, don't count, because you can't count the ones that you already shot.
Right.
You know, think about the shot you're in
Exactly.
now.
Just that
There
one
is
that's
no
coming
future
up.
shot,
Yeah.
no future
Yeah.
shot, and no past shot. It's only now.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
and I don't take practice shots when I go to a place like that, because
Oh yeah.
do I get a practice shot when I'm hunting?
Right.
No,
Yeah.
I don't get the first one counts.
Yeah.
So I never, it's like I never wanted to do any practice shots. The
Yeah.
practice time is when I'm shooting for practice. When it comes down to tournament or hunting, the first arrow counts.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to do is shoot a perfect shot, and the next one is not as perfect as that one. You know, now I wasted my one good shot.
You're one good one.
yeah, yeah. I believe in a good warm up,
Warm up.
good 20, 30 arrows
Yeah.
to get your muscles going and get the bugs or the nerves out of the way.
Yeah.
Being at someplace like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always said I never shoot my hunting setup at targets. I have a target set up. I may shoot the same bow, but the arrows are two totally different things.
Yeah.
The arrows I shoot for targets are light, fast, and the ones I shoot for hunting are heavier, and I generally shoot a heavier bow.
Yeah.
So I come the end of August, 1st of September, because our hunting season doesn't start till October 1st.
Right.
That's when I switch over to my hunting. And, I limit myself to 25 yards and under with a recurve for shooting deer. And, I've been able to adapt real quickly to a new setup. And it's easier when you're shooting instinctively.
Right.
So a lot of others shooting points may have a little more trouble, but I never did.
Yeah.
So I just throw on a set of heavier limbs, and I just start shooting. A lot of things that help you, I think, is stump shooting out in the woods. It's hard to do with a compound.
Yeah.
Yeah, your limited shot is the amount of arrows you have, but with a recurve, shooting stumps through the summer is just it's a hoot to begin with, and then it gets you out in the woods shooting through the trees at different dead trees and stumps and lumps of grass, and that really sharpens you up too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's an outdoor range that one of the clubs takes care of up here at one of the public parks that you go shoot at, and there's an equestrian trail. You can go that trail, and there's targets off of there, so you can shoot 60, 70, 80 yard shots if you want.
Oh, nice.
And I said you walk down, and each one's going to be a little bit different shot, and they have a backstop up there. When they don't have the 3Ds, there's a backstop, so you could go down there and shoot at an arrow and then shoot at your arrow.
Yeah.
Take two shots,
Right.
shoot at the arrow, doesn't matter where it goes, and shoot at your arrow. Then go to the next one, 2 shots at that one. Or go up there and put a 1-inch sticker on it, then walk back and shoot it. The next one, put a 1 sticker on it and go shoot it.
Yeah.
You figure aim small, miss small, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the way it goes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking with you guys.
Yeah.
It's been it's always interesting to talk to different people, and I learned something on all these, but what you're doing, I always learn something, and I hope you guys learn something from what I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
And the people listening or watching, You know, my goal is for them to learn something out of each one of these. If not, just learn more about archery and figure out that
Right.
is a big family, and we're all just you know, friends, and you know, all over the world. You know, I've
Yeah.
interviewed people from all over the world, and um, you know, it's just really interesting, you know, talking to people in different countries and how their archery is different, but yet it's the same.
Right.
Yeah.
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 And their experiences. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's always a lot of fun. So yeah, those that have been still listening to us, you know, I like thank you for listening to all this. It's I think it's been interesting, and one of the things you want to remember you do is go out to the Archery Talk 1 Facebook group and join that group if you haven't. If you have any questions, you know, upload the questions. If you have your form, take a video of it and upload it, you know, or even download that coach's view and um
yeah.
and take a video of that or something, upload it, because there's people in here that have experience coaching. You know, I've been a coach since 95, and we have archers in there that have been coaching for, you know, just a few years, as well as we got archers in there that have been shooting for 60 and 70 years. And, you know, there's all kinds of experience and bow tech. So just go out there and join it and ask your questions. You know, you're not going to see any links to any products, because I don't allow you sell anything in there. You'll see links to events, you know, so like, you know, if you have an event coming up, you know, you're more than welcome to post a link to the event, you know, just because it's, you know, it's helping the archers out. And it's just a group of like-minded individuals all over the country. You're going to find people in countries that you don't know where it's at until Google Maps tells you.
Yeah.
I've had some of those that's like, where is this at? I don't even know how to pronounce the name.
Right.
Oh, it's over in Italy. It's over in Serbia. It's in, you know, just some little bitty town in some little suburb in some other country.
Yeah.
And it's just so much fun. And yeah, I get a kick out of doing these, and sometimes we get talking for longer than we really should, but you know,
Yeah.
it's all having fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, everybody get out and support your local clubs.
Yeah.
These 3D targets cost 4, 5, 6, 7,000, you know, $1,500. They can't pull that out of midair. They need participation from the surrounding communities. So I encourage
Right.
everybody to get out
Yeah.
and go out and shoot a 3D tournament.
Yeah, and
Or
that
just
10
go
or
out and have
15
fun.
yeah, that $10 or $15 you pay to go shoot, you know, it goes to, you know, any awards that they're doing, and also supports the club, and you know, so they can
Right.
replace those targets, because they do get shot up.
Yep.
You know, you have a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
of people shooting them, and they do get shot up, and some have replaceable centers. You can replace the center. Others, you
Yeah.
just gotta get a new target,
Yeah.
and they're not cheap.
Yeah.
Mm.
Even with the repair, we repair a lot of them, and even the repair takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
It takes money to get the chemicals. You know,
It's a process.
it's a process, and it's not
Yeah.
free.
Yeah.
So
No, and it, you know, it's a lot of fun. You know, go with your buddy, and uh, you know, whoever gets the highest score gets to give the crap on the way home, and he'll have to receive it. You know, or who buys the dinner on the way home.
Right.
Next week, it's the other way around. You know, you
Yep.
guys might be. She's always winning, so you're always buying. But you know,
Yeah.
but you know, that's how you see. We'd go, and it's like we didn't care which we come in. You know, any place we could
Right.
come in last and next to last. You know, I guess when
Yeah.
I beat him, yeah, that's what my goal was, and his goal was to beat me. You know, it just you know, fun. Get out there
Right.
and do it, and you know, it's a lot of fun
Yeah.
getting out there and talking to the archers and seeing what they're doing. And you know, if you're struggling with something, you know, there's a lot of us out here that would be glad to help you.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
oh yeah,
I-
that's
I-
that's that's what I like about the traditional archery community. Everybody's willing to help. There's no secrets. There's, you know, if somebody's found something that works, they're more than glad to share with you. You know, you just got to pick and choose and try and see what works.
Yeah, and I've even heard of guys telling us like they were in a tournament against a shooter, and they were helping them get better.
Yeah.
And it's
Oh, yeah.
all about, hey, I might lose because I helped you, but it's all just helping. It
Yeah.
improves everybody better. And,
Yeah.
the better you shoot when I'm shooting with you, the better I'm going to shoot.
Right.
It's just, so if I make you better, it makes me better. And,
Yeah.
bring each other up. That's the way to
Yeah.
do it. Of course,
Yep.
you're going to run into those that want to tear you down, but,
Yeah.
they
It
don't
happens.
last long because nobody
Right.
hangs around with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see the loner, the guy nobody wants to talk to. And
Right.
he's the guy that wants to just make you feel like you're bad or something. And
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Debbie
Yeah.
Downer.
yeah, they don't have many friends because nobody wants to be around them.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having us on here.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and we'll have to do this again sometime. And
Yeah.
when you have those events, go ahead and post them in the group. Those
Yeah.
events coming up,
Okay.
let everybody know, because there's going to be people, like I said, it's all over the country and all over the world. There may
Right.
be somebody there next to you. Go ahead and let the people know what's going on. And I'll have links in the description to get to the group and
Yeah.
and everything else. So just look in the description for that. So
Cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
yeah. My name is Roy Canterbury, and I've been your host on Archery Talk 101. And we'll see everybody at the next one.